I don't know if you guys ever seen it, but there is this like Kung Lao video, and it's done to Smooth Criminal, and it's like from Mortal Kombat 3, and Kung Lao walked into the dance club or whatever,
Yes.
and he's dancing with everybody. Oh, and it's done to Smooth Criminal. I don't know if the person who made that knew that I was such a big Michael Jackson fan, but that was that first iteration of, yes, the whole world is coming together.
Welcome to the Realm Kast, Mortal Kombat Online's official podcast, the original Mortal Kombat podcast bringing you well-known and significant members of the Mortal Kombat community. I am your host, the Mortal Kombat Phantom, and with me as always is my co-host, our Lore Master Yanni. Welcome, Yanni.
Thank you, Phantom. And today we'd like to welcome Anthony Marquez, also known in the Mortal Kombat community as the original Kung Lao, as well as far as we're aware, the original Fujin. Welcome.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on here. So yeah, let's get into it.
Anthony, it's great to have you on. So usually the way we kick off this show is we like to tell how Mortal Kombat has influenced you or impacted your life. You've been around in a way since the beginning, and I want to talk about that a little bit and kind of share that story with our guests. But before we jump into that, who actually is your favorite Mortal Kombat character?
Okay. So Kung Lao is actually my favorite Mortal Kombat character.
Surprise.
Yeah. I just think he's totally awesome. In terms of opponents or whatever, I love Baraka. Baraka and Kano. Okay, Baraka and Kano are two of my favorite opponents. He always came across to me as just a warrior, somebody to test your mettle against. And then Kano is one of those guys that is a guy with a great skill set, but he actually may be evil or whatever. But at the end of the day, he's a guy looking for a paycheck and just looking to get paid, looking to live his life. And he has a skill set that worth paying for. And so those are the two characters that I always enjoyed battling against. And it could come down because I enjoyed Rich the Video so much. And I think he really encapsulates those characters, especially the Kano character. Yeah. Kano and Rich is just the same guy and Rich is not evil at all, let me tell you that. But he's just the average guy with a great skill set who's looking for a paycheck, very much a mercenary. And I love that guy. So those are my favorite characters. And then there's Liu Kang. And everybody knows that I'm just as good as Liu Kang. I get it that maybe Sub-Zero or Scorpion is the face, maybe even Scorpion more so than anybody else, is the face of Mortal Kombat. But to me, when I think especially the first iterations of Mortal Kombat, Liu Kang was the champion. And when all is said and done, he's the best. He's the defender of Earthrealm. We're lucky to have him. And so he's also my favorite. And then there's Johnny Cage. We could go on forever. We could go on forever to talk about who my favorite guys are in this franchise. But let's leave it at that. How about that?
That's actually the most enthusiastic answer we've ever had to the favorite character question. And I absolutely love that. But I also love that you picked Baraka first because it's so fitting as Kung Lao's opponent, considering the whole history between the two. So that's pretty interesting. How about we actually jump into a bit of your biography before we get into Mortal Kombat as a whole, because you've been basically with martial arts as far as we can tell from your career. You started off straight up with awards as far back as we can see. You were Rookie of the Year with the North American For Karate Association, which I'm going to say as NASCA from that one because that is way too long to say. But in 1989.
Yeah.
And that continued for quite a while. You were top 10 a few years after that, as well as actually becoming a champion in 96. Is that correct?
Correct. So originally, I'm visiting my family in the Philippines. My uncle takes me to the movies, and it's a double feature. And then the second movie starts, and at some point, there's this guy on screen. He walks into this karate school, and he just wrecks shop He turns through everybody, and this is the most amazing fight scene I've ever seen. And this is the most dynamic person I've ever seen on screen. And it was Bruce Lee, it was Fist of Fury or Chinese Connection, depending on where in the world you saw this thing. But I was just shocked. I was dumbfounded. I was sitting in the theater thinking, oh my God, this is who I want to be. And I was 4 years old. And then we come back to America. I'm bugging my parents forever. Oh, I need to do Kung Fu. I need to do Kung Fu. I need to do Kung Fu. My parents eventually relent. And then I found this 7-star praying mantis Kung Fu school. And it's run
Ooh.
by this Chinese guy who looked and sounds and acts like he just stepped out of a Hong Kong Kung Fu movie. And I was in love with that from that point. And that's when I then met Danny and Ho Sung and Ho Young. And then later on down the line, Rich and Carlos. And so that's our bond together. We train together doing martial art. Ho Sung and I eventually go to China together and we're training in China. I always talk about the personality and the pixels or whatever, but it is really these things were the lightning in the bottle where, you know, Liu Kang was the Earth Realm champion, and Ho Sung was our national champion. Kung Lao was training alongside Liu Kang and would always be pushing each other. And there's always something of a rivalry, but a brotherly love underlying all of that type of stuff. And I eventually become a champion. Also, Danny is just now this worldwide celebrity who has fans around the world. And that's exactly who Danny is or Johnny Cage is. Carlos is somebody who, up until recently, it was working at NetherRealm and controlling a lot of Mortal Kombat behind the scenes in terms of art and whatever he was doing at NetherRealm with the choreography or whatever. And that's exactly Raiden. Raiden is somebody who controlled Mortal Kombat from behind the scenes for the most part. Rich is Kano, who again is just this regular guy, salt of the earth guy with a great skill set who just looking for a paycheck, just needs to get that to the end of the week. And that is Kano. And I always got to bring up Jack too. Jack is just this loud military, let's go defend. Whatever you happen to say about defeating Shang Tsung or Shao Kahn or whatever. And that's exactly John Parrish. So, and everybody kind of fits these roles. Katana or Melina. Katana is the princess of Edenia. She rules her kingdom. And Catalin is someone who owns and operates like one of the most successful martial arts schools here in Chicago. She rules her kingdom. And we all kind of looked at her as like, okay, as far as what the kingdoms are doing, what is Catalin do? What does Katana do? And so we all looked at her as like, she's the leader there. And then Shang Tsung, Philip. Philip is so Philip is a great guy. I don't know if Shang Tsung's a great guy. Like, Philip is great, and he saves lives or saves souls or lives as opposed to killing lives or souls. But he also has he'll kind of go along. If everybody likes something, he'll go along with it, whatever that happens to be, whether we're eating or dancing or whatever. And that's Shang Tsung. He kind of just morphs himself into whatever person or situation he happens to find himself in. So we're all kind of, but again, Shang Tsung, Philip, he's great. He's one of the most intelligent people I've ever met. He's one of the most caring people. He actually does more good for the world than all of us combined. So he's in a way Shang Tsung, but in a way very opposite of Shang Tsung. Anyway, that's where I met Danny and Ho Sung and Rich and Carlos in the 7-star praying mantis school. And then Ho Sung and I trained in China. And in 1989, I was the 1989 NASCA Rookie of the Year, ranked in the top 10 for 93 and 94 and 95. And in 96, I was the National Kung Fu Champion of NASCA. So that's where all of that ended up. And then I've always had my eye on like the UFC or mixed martial arts. And then that part became more in the forefront of my training. And so I got more heavily involved in boxing, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, sanda, which is Chinese style kickboxing. And currently at my gym, EKF Martial Arts, we stress both Chinese martial arts and mixed martial arts.
I think you touched on this for a second. You're originally not from the Chicago area, though, right?
No, okay. So I was born in the Chicago area. My parents came from the Philippines. They came separately. My dad was in the Philippines, and during the Korean War, from the Philippines could fight for the Americans, and that would give them an easy path to U.S. citizenship. My mom was in the Philippines, and they're both not wealthy at all, but she knew that there's a path outside of staying there at that time period, the 40s or 50s or whatever. There's a golden place, the United States of America. And somehow she needs to get there. And so she goes to nursing school. The U.S. was in dire need of nurses at that time. So there was a lot of Filipino nurses coming to the U.S. And that's how she got to America. And then my parents met here. They had me and the rest of my brothers and my sister. And eventually I met Danny and Ho-Sung and all those cats. And we did Mortal Kombat. And now I'm talking to you guys.
Originally, when you were doing Mortal Kombat, from my understanding, you were actually supposed to be involved with Mortal Kombat 1.
Yeah. So, okay. So here's the story. So, okay. So we all train together. We're all doing everything together. And then Danny and those cats are talking about, yeah, they're doing some sort of video game. They're filming some sort of video game. And you got to remember, at that point, you had Pac-Man or Mario Brothers, maybe Karate Champ. I don't even know if Pit Fighter was something that was like in the public eye at that point. But like, all right, cool. I guess you guys are doing a video game. That's awesome. Whatever. And I'm happy for them, but it doesn't actually mean anything. And then I'm talking to Danny. I'm supposed to shoot these ninja characters or whatever. And like a couple of days or a week before or whatever, I'm in the weight room and I drop a weight on my foot. I break my toes, and it's typically not a problem. Yeah, it hurts, but it's not a problem for filming, especially at that point. A lot of the things are done slowly, so you need to be able to hold your balance on different things, and that wasn't going to happen with the broken toes. And so Danny goes ahead and films the ninjas, and cool, that's great. I'm glad you guys are doing this project, whatever that happens to be, and I guess it's with John Tobias or whatever. Then you realize, wow, this project is Mortal Kombat, and you see it everywhere. You go to the arcades and the kids are just swamped around the cabinet. You're seeing it on TV because now the home versions are coming out, and you see that kid, Mortal Kombat, and you see it all over whatever bookstore you go to, and the magazines are just full of Mortal Kombat. And then you're even looking, you're just flipping through the channels, and you stop at C-SPAN and you see Senator Joe Lieberman talking about Mortal Kombat is detrimental to the children and we need to rate all of these things. And so you just, no matter where you're going, whether it's MTV, whether it's C-SPAN, whether it's at your local bookstore, at the arcade, Mortal Kombat is everywhere. We all love each other, but because we train together, we're all competing in martial arts tournaments. There's always this competition and rivalry amongst all of us. And I'm just sitting there like, I can't believe I missed the boat on Mortal Kombat. And it's not just like, oh, Danny got to do this. It's like Danny got to do this, and Ho-Sung got to do this, and Rich got to do this, and Carlos got to do this. So everybody that you know is like participating in this global phenomenon. And you're thinking, wow, man, I can't believe I missed it.
Were you actually on set for any of the initial preparations or recordings for the first game, or was it just you broke your foot right out of the gate?
So I broke my foot, and again, there was this, oh, cool, they're doing, I'm happy for them, but there's no, at least on my end, no big buzz. Oh, this game is going to change the industry. Like, oh, it was like, cool, you're doing a project with John. That's awesome. And they're doing their thing. I'm doing my thing. We go to the gym and train together, but I was not a part of that. And that's why I'm just as shocked as everybody else. I go to the arcade and like, wow, I guess this thing is real. This thing is really game changing because, you just remember all the kids are just swamped around Mortal Kombat. It was like you didn't even need anything else in your arcade at that point. All you needed, like, whether it's the arcade, whether it's a 7-Eleven or wherever there happened to be a cabinet, there were kids, so many kids around that. So no, if I knew it's like, oh, you guys are working on a project that's going to change the industry, of course I'm going to hang around. But at that point, I didn't even understand it really, I guess. Like, you're going to be in a video game, but you're like I
Yeah,
couldn't
you couldn't
actually
wrap
wrap my
your
head
head
around it.
Yeah, I guess.
Right. Like, you're not like Pac-Man, like Mario or whatever. What exactly are you guys doing? So that's cool. Whatever. Let's go work out.
I love
yes,
I love that everybody associates you just with the original Kung Lao, as we said, but not so many people are actually aware that you were supposed to be what is really the original Scorpion and Sub-Zero and just a ninja in general. But how come when you did end up coming in for MK2 as Kung Lao, how come you didn't actually take over the ninja at this point? Was this a part of like just remaining consistent with the characters because you already played
I
them?
think so. I think it was just a matter of consistency for the most part. And again, let's say, and I can't stress this enough, let's say I did do the ninjas, and I'm sure I would have done a fine job as the ninjas or whatever. But somehow there's that combination of everything. And Danny did the ninjas, and like I said, Scorpion is arguably the face of Mortal Kombat. If somebody else did the ninjas, maybe it wouldn't have worked as well. And then, like, the Scorpion rope dart thing, rope dart is one of Danny's primary weapons that he likes to train with. So there are just so many things that, in terms of capturing that lightning in the bottle, all of these things had to be in place. And if I would have done the ninjas, I'm sure it would have been fine, but maybe that would have taken away from the overall magic of Mortal Kombat. And if somebody else played a Kung Lao, they would have done fine, but maybe that would have taken away from the magic. And let's face it, whether it's John or Ed or Vogel or whoever, Sal DeVita, any of the cats behind the camera or behind everything that make the Mortal Kombat work, or the actors in front of the camera, there is a magic that 30 years later, we're still talking about. So in terms of maybe, why didn't I pick up Scorpion and Sub-Zero there? It was already established. And a lot of these things were already established by the time I jumped in. I liken myself, though, to, okay, so you have your original cast of characters, the original 5 or whatever. And then you have the cast of Mortal Kombat 2, and then maybe Mortal Kombat 3 and Ultimate and all of that good stuff. But I always liken myself to like Captain America and the Avengers. Okay. So I'm going to get a little nerdy on you guys.
No, cool. Go for it.
Okay. So in the original Avengers, who got Thor, Hulk, Ant-Man, Wasp, and Iron Man form the Avengers. And Hulk leads an episode by issue number 2. And then they find Captain America in issue number 4. And they now include Captain America as part of the original team. And then by issue 16, I'm telling you, really kind of nerdy on this stuff. By issue 16, Thor, Hulk, and Iron Man leave. And so they bring in Wanda, Quicksilver, and Hawkeye. So that's now the team. But they've always counted Captain America, even though he came in issue 4, as part of the founding members of the Avengers. Yep. And it's the same thing with Kung Lao. Kung Lao, because Danny, Rich, Carlos, myself, Hosung, were all pals before Mortal Kombat. And they did Mortal Kombat without me or whatever. And then Mortal Kombat 2 happened. We're always together. And so that's why when you think of the Mortal Kombat crew, you think of Danny, you think of Rich, you think of Hosung, you think of Carlos, you think of Anthony Marquez also. Just because we're all part of that same grouping. And so that's how I kind of liken myself to Captain America, the Avengers, Kung Lao, Mortal Kombat. Yeah, there's the original group, but you know that Kung Lao should be in there too.
Honestly, you're saying it's all really nerdy. Firstly, it's a nerdy podcast, right? But it's actually a very apt comparison, I would say, because I do associate you with the OG characters. I honestly do. Like,
thank you.
That is actually like, I feel like it's something that most Mortal Kombat fans do, unless it's just me speaking for everybody right now, which I potentially could be. Sorry, guys. But I don't know. I've just always had that association But I'm very curious because obviously you didn't end up playing the ninja, and Daniel Pazina did. So when
Sure.
you were going to, I suppose, I'm not sure how much time you had knowledge of the fact that you were going to record for them before finding out that you weren't going to because you broke your foot. So assuming you were to have actually recorded for them, was there something that you had in mind as to how you would have portrayed them? Did you have specific weapons in mind, a style? Like, I'm very
No,
curious to see what would have
no,
happened.
not at all. Not at all. Again, I wasn't involved with any of the filming, or it was just very tangentially that I was involved. I'd hear them talking, would be sitting around talking, or we're doing this game, or standing there in front of a camera and we're punching and kicking or whatever. But there was nothing concrete that was at least sticking in my head until, again, until you turn on C-SPAN, until you walk into the arcade or whatever. But by the time Mortal Kombat 2 rolled around, or okay, so now everything's established. Like, okay, I need to get into this thing. And then, oh, now they're working on Mortal Kombat 2. And like, okay, I missed the boat on the first one. There's no
My time
way
to
that I'm
shine.
missing the boat on this. Yes. And okay, so now I need to get into this. And I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna be totally truthful with you. I don't know how much fact this is as opposed to myth and legend. We're all brothers. We all mess with each other. But Danny goes to me, oh yeah, you know what? I don't think Tobias wants you in MK2 because you're too skinny. He thinks you're too skinny. And I get so riled up about this stuff. It's like, you know what? You tell Tobias, get his ass to the get him to the gym and give me a month, give me 4 weeks, and then we're gonna get him in the gym. I'm gonna prove to this guy that I belong in Mortal Kombat. And so I switched some of my training around. I was always weight training, but now for this month, I spent a whole lot more time eating and weight training or whatever, and trying to get as big, as ripped, as cut as possible or whatever. And I wanted to show Tobias, look, I belong in Mortal Kombat. And I've talked to Tobias about this, and he doesn't actually remember some of these type of things, this part of it. Or maybe he could have just been being nice or
Did you
whatever.
say this?
But
No.
yeah, it's like, yeah, it's one of those type of things. But anyway, I'm busting myself. I'm going for it. And then Tobias comes to the gym, and he did a little bit of martial art, mainly because he was like friends with Danny and Carlos and Rich. And so they would play D&D together. Sometimes he would do martial arts with them. So he could do a little bit of martial arts. And so we're training together, and I'm on fire because I know it's like, oh, this is my shot at getting to Mortal Kombat. And I'm just on fire doing everything with Tobias. And then a couple of days later, Danny comes to me and said, yeah, you're shooting. Yeah, John wants you to do this, or we're going to do this. And so now I'm really excited. And there's a diner close to Midway that Tobias always used to like to go to. So I would go there, would talk about what he wanted me to do. Then he's starting to show me drawings of what Kung Lao looks like. And then I finally get to the studio and I put on the costume. And yes, I am now actually part of Mortal Kombat. I do have a background outside of physical education. At one point, I thought Hollywood and acting would be my pursuit. That didn't turn out to be the case. But I understood about acting and performing or whatever. And I knew that there had to be some sort of personality that you bring to this character. Even though you're just standing there punching and kicking, in your mind, there has to be something that says, this is a kind of a fleshed out character. And that didn't happen until I put on the hat. You're standing there in this cheaply made, less than dime store quality Halloween costume. But this was already a global phenomenon, but the costume budget was still zero. Anyway, so I'm standing there in costume. I'm not taking anything away. Yeah, it's a $0 budget, but I'm still really excited to be part of this. But I'm still trying to wrap him around. Okay, how is this cat different from Johnny Cage? How is he different from Liu Kang? How is he different from Kano or whatever? And then it's the hat. You put on the hat, and then all of a sudden you're Clint Eastwood. You're the man with no name. You are stoic. You are tough. You don't take stuff from anybody. And you barely say anything, but when you say something, it's either meaningful or sarcastic because you choose your words wisely. And there's just this aura of badassery, for lack of a better term, that wraps around Kung Lao. And you put on the hat and you slowly tilt your head up. And it's exactly the thing like in an old Clint Eastwood movie. All you see is the brim of the hat. He raises his head, and all you see is his eyes and that squint. And you knew that somebody's going down. And that's exactly what Kung Lao was. And you see all of the images or whatever. Hopefully that comes across in all of the frames and all of the screenshots or whatever. But that's how Kung Lao became Kung Lao. Yeah. And again, this is something that I personally helped bring to the table. And I think it worked. If I did the same thing with Scorpion Sub-Zero, maybe it would have worked, but maybe it wouldn't have. And again, this is that magic that helped, along with everything else, that helped Mortal Kombat endure 30 years later.
Kung Lao's character, as you said, I mean, he was very mysterious. There's like, even before you read into his story and stuff, he had that air of mystery to him. Did you have any kind of direction going into it to kind of bring about this character, or was it just kind of like you said, you put on the hat and that's how you became Kung Lao?
Yeah, no. So, obviously, Tobias knew that, this is a Shaolin monk, there's some sort of relationship between him and Liu Kang, but that was pretty much it. And I keep talking about Tobias. Ed Boon is cool. John Tobias is cool. But in terms of interacting of like what this character is or whatever, I had more interaction with Tobias. Ed makes the game happen. And I can't speak on like the mechanics or the gameplay or the programming, but Ed and the rest of the team makes that happen. These ideas, though, I think a lot of this stuff sprung from Tobias. And this is Tobias's concepts or the art and all of that good stuff. And then the rest of the team, Bogle and all of those cats, helped that bring together. So when I keep talking about how this character came about, I keep referring to like Tobias because it was his idea. This is the Shaolin monk. This is the movie star. This is the mercenary or whatever. And then we as actors would talk to him like, okay, how about something like this? And then Ed would be there and he'd have us do things over and over again. But I think Ed really brought you could have the greatest ideas in the world, but if the gameplay sucks, we're not talking about this. You could have great gameplay, but if you don't have that cool aesthetic about it, we're not talking about this. If you have great gameplay and cool art, but the characters are, I keep busting on Pit Fighter, but if the characters are the Pit Fighter characters, we're not talking about this. And so that's one of those things. I would talk to Tobias. Okay, what are we trying to get through here? What kind of moves do you want? And obviously Ed too. What kind of moves do you want? And then it would be, okay, he's a Shaolin monk. Most of my training through that time was in Chinese martial arts, and especially, long fist or Chung Chun. And this is another story. Tobias would say that he wanted Kung Lao to have wind-like movement. And in a practical sense, you're thinking, well, what are you talking about? what exactly is a wind-like movement? But it just happens to be that the English word for it is long fist. This is the style of Chinese martial arts that I was training heavily at the time in. And that the essence of long fist is the energy coming from the center of the body and then moving out through the extremities. When you think about a propeller or like a windmill in reverse. And so then it became propeller, windmill, wind-like movement, long fist. This all makes sense. And so all of the basic things were already set in place. We need a high kick, we need a medium kick, we need a low kick, we need a high punch, and all of this good stuff. So all of these things were set in place already. But what can we do as actors, and especially what can I do as Kung Lao to make this character as real as possible? And it just so happened that my training, what I did, what John's ideas were, this all came together for each character. And that's why I'm so glad that I didn't do Scorpion and Sub-Zero. I'm glad that I did Kung Lao. And then something like later on down the line, I played Fujin in mythology, then also another unnamed Shaolin monk. And those things are really, to me, like work for hire. Like, I know I'm not no name Shaolin monk. Let's just get but I'm also not the wind god. I'm not Fujin. I put on the costume. I did whatever. I did everything that they asked for me to do, and I try to bring a level of reality to that. But that's why I hardly ever talk about those guys. And I don't want to get all crazy on you guys, but there's so much of my essence in Kung Lao. And this is all true for all of those original cast members. This is who we are. This is what they wanted. And somehow that meshed into these characters. So that's why I'm constantly talking about Kung Lao, because everything that Kung Lao did, everything that I was doing at the time, the concepts that everybody wanted, they just all kind of meshed together into Kung Lao, or again, into Liu Kang, into Johnny Cage, into Raiden, into Kano. So I'm so appreciative and so happy to be part of this legacy that 30 years on, we can still have fun and talk about this. And God only knows with whatever other games are coming down the line. It's just so awesome to be just even a small part of that.
Well, as you say, like we can talk about this 30 years down the line. And as far as I've seen, even just through these interviews that we're doing on the Realm Kast, we continuously learn new things. So, for example, just now, you're saying how John was explaining to you how he wants it to have like wind-like movements, etc. And obviously, firstly, you actually managed to capture that, or they managed to capture that through your motions, your movements. It's also so fitting because he actually has moves like whirlwind spin, etc. It's all wind focused, and it all
Yeah,
clicks now when you say that.
yeah, like the whirlwind fatality and all of that good stuff. That all of that stuff, somehow John had this in his head. Somehow we had to make this real in terms of physical motion. Somehow all of this stuff had to come together, and that is another of those things. He wanted, okay, for this thing, I just want you to spin around. Like, what are you? Okay, all right, cool, cool. But I'm such a fan of Michael Jackson. And let's face it, his spin outside of the moonwalk, that spin is one of the iconic movements of Michael Jackson. And so, especially at that time, oh, you mean I get to mimic something like Michael Jackson? This is so awesome. And
But shred
so
my
we do
opponent
this
along the
thing, and
way.
yes. And so instead of just wrapping my arms around and or spinning like Wonder Woman, the 10 years before that or 20 years before that, I can do something and get to the spin and get into this position to spin. And so the spin is cool because it harkens back to Michael Jackson. But even if like slow that stuff down, you would see the hand movement is here, and that's the official wushu salute, or you'll see this in just Chinese culture, this type of salute. But in terms of like wushu, the fist represents the martial aspect, being able to pound people into submission. But there's always the wisdom that has to temper that power. And so all of this stuff comes together to, oh, okay, now we want you to spin. All right, whoosh, and I'm in this position spinning around. And so that's all of that magic stuff. And you're spinning around, you're doing this stuff, and then limbs are flying all over the place. It's a beautiful thing.
Again, we're saying it's clicking into place. And just as you're saying, the wushu like salute and everything. I mean, we wanted to ask you about the design on the front of Kung Lao's attire. I'm not sure what to call it, but I mean, is that not supposed to be like to have a wushu meaning? Like,
Yeah, the symbol there is Wu, and which is war or martial. It's all kind of the same thing, but this is that same symbol. That it's the Wu symbol, and it means the war or martial, something like that, like martial arts or war arts or whatever. So that's exactly what it is. That the symbol on there is Wu, and so yeah, it is martial or war, and that's what Kung Lao is. You understand? He represents Chinese war arts or martial arts. So yeah.
it just all comes together. I still actually find it kind of funny that you went from Kung Lao, who, well, that we just learned was really wind focused, not just in his moveset, but also in his actual inspiration for his his fighting style, to Fujin, the literal god of wind in the Mortal Kombat universe. So,
But again, there is so much, like for Fujin, I'm a big fan of Thor. So you look at that costume or whatever, and it's kind of blue. He got the big red cape, at least in my version of it, it's the big red cape. And he kind of looked like Thor. I'm more Bruce Lee than Chris Hemsworth. So at least my version of Fujin is like Bruce Lee in a Thor suit or whatever. But again, that's one of those things where I don't see how I am the wind god. And again, in that same game, mythology, both Rich and I play Shaolin monk, unnamed Shaolin monk. And bro, that ain't me. That ain't I'm not some background there. But Kung Lao is, yes, this is where it all comes together.
You know, talking about the Michael Jackson inspiration, now every time I see him do his spin, he puts his head down too and kind of covers his eyes, just like you do with Kung Lao. And I'm gonna imagine that move from here on out. I'm just saying. The hat itself for Kung Lao, did that come about when you showed up on set, or was that something that John had already written out for you?
All of the design of the costume is John. There's a pic of Kung Lao, like a sketch of Kung Lao in the original blue suit that Tobias did before I inhabited the costume. But I know that the sketch of Kung Lao in the blue suit, he already at that point leaner or smaller than like Liu Kang or the rest of those cats. And I know that Tobias, he had this character in mind or whatever, whether I forced myself in or he already knew that I was going to play Kung Lao or whatever. However that played out, he knew that I was going to be Kung Lao. So then when you look at that original sketch, he's thinner than Liu Kang. But you could see that, oh, okay, Tobias based this sketch on me, just like kind of like when you see the sketches for Mortal Kombat 2, like Liu Kang. You could see a lot of Ho Sung in that stuff. But the hat and the whole costume was already what Tobias designed and the costume makers put together. But again, just like any other actor, you have the suit, you have the costume, but let's say you put on the Captain America suit. You're not an actor, and you put on the Captain America suit, and somehow it just isn't the same as like Chris Evans trying to figure out what Captain America actually means, and him putting on the suit and him being the guy that leads the Avengers against the forces of Thanos. There's some sort of magic that happens, or with same thing with Robert Downey Jr., with Chris Hemsworth. These are roles that match the actor, and hopefully, especially in those first iterations of Mortal Kombat, the actors and the roles just kind of matched, and it's a cool thing.
How about things like Kung Lao's hat throw, that type of moveset? Did you bring any of that to the table with you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. We need a long range attack or whatever. We need to throw the hat. But the way he does it, whether he's throwing it underneath, then that one's very much the Captain America throw. That was the Captain America. Again, I'm a big fan of like Captain America. Obviously, Bruce Lee, John Bon Jovi, which we could talk about. But like these very extended movements. This is all long fist. And this is all of these long fist or wind time movements. This is what John wanted. But how are we going to manifest this stuff? And it just so happened to be that at that time, that was my primary style of martial art. And so all of that type of stuff is just wrapped around. John wanted this, but he's not like a true, like dyed-in-the-world martial artist. He doesn't really have a huge internal library of, oh, I want this type of move for this type of move. Like, that's why he hired us. It's like, okay, you guys are martial artists. Hopefully we could figure this stuff out. And so, yeah, all of that type of stuff, the hat tosses, the spins, the finishing, all of that type of stuff. Like, oh yeah, let me bring this to the table because this is what I do. So again, it was just a perfect marriage. So yeah, there's a lot of leeway in terms of, oh yeah, we need this. How can you manifest it? Let me show you. So, and then like, oh, that kind of stuff. Oh, that was actually pretty cool. So let's go with that. So that's how all of that stuff came together.
Was there any change to your approach with Kung Lao going into Mortal Kombat 3?
As a younger athlete, there's so much testosterone, there's so much wanting, especially within that time of your life. And I'm glad that I can look back on this now but always wanted to be the alpha, number one, all of these good things. And so we're all trying to become as good as possible, get as strong as possible. And I'm just happy that the design of the costume went from like the old style military garb. That's kind of what Kung Lao garb is kind of based off of, like a old style Chinese soldier or whatever. So he had this what should be a big breastplate with the Wu symbol on it. That's what
Yeah.
it actually should be. Says, oh fuck, we just got these two straps here so I can start flexing all the time. And for that,
With
the
that Mortal
hair is
Kombat
long,
3 fighting, but what is the pose in the beginning? The versus pose is like, I see you flexing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Sorry, you were saying.
but yeah, but that's what it was. And I wouldn't say more confident, because you walk in with confidence. It is what it is. But just being able to manifest that there's even more badassery about this character. That's what actually came in from Mortal Kombat 2 to Mortal Kombat 3. In Mortal Kombat 2, yes, you know exactly who you are. You're trying to mold this to the character. But now you've been doing this for over a year, and then you've done some of these shows, some of these trade shows, and for Midway, and you're on magazine covers and all of this good stuff. And so that line between who the character is and who the actor is really starting to get blurred. And so you're much more self-assured. Even though in the beginning you're self-assured, you inhabit this character now, and you and this character
Intertwined.
are one. And so yeah, so by the time Mortal Kombat 3 rolled around, that was more of the feeling.
You had mentioned that you don't have as much of a connection with Fujin as you do with the other characters. When you showed up to actually play Fujin, was there any kind of inspiration for this character or any kind of input?
There was still, some back and forth. There, at least in my mind, there wasn't as much like thought put into the character, on my end, as much thought put into the character. I did enjoy that it looked, the red cape, the blue suit, even the yellow leggings or whatever. It's all very reminiscent of Thor. And so I really dug that. And when we shot it, it was more, tomorrow we're going to do this. Here's the costume. This is what it looks like. And you're going to be this wind god or whatever. And so, again, at least on my end, there wasn't as much thought about how this character is going to come together. It was very much with Kung Lao. This is the character. For Fujin, okay, yeah, we need a wind god, and it's not even like really a playable character at this point or whatever. And so we just need you to do this and this and this and this. And so I'm listening to John, I'm listening to Ed. Okay, cool. I can do this, I can do that. Not a problem. Or how about if we do something like that? But again, I hate to say that, but that's like work for hire, as opposed to, oh yeah, let's have this magic happen. And I'm just glad that the magic happened for Sub-Zero mythologies or whatever. But I don't know. In my own opinion, the real that you have the spin-off games, and some of them are great, and some of them maybe not so great. I don't know. But the core Mortal Kombat, the thing that that it's all based off of, and even through the latest iterations of the game, those things are magic. And so I apologize if I let anyone down for Fujin or this unnamed Shaolin monk. But again, I can't
The
get
Shaolin
behind
monk.
this unnamed Shaolin monk cat.
I'm
No,
trying to figure out which Shaolin monk it was.
It was the bald one.
But both Rich and I are bald Shaolin monks running around in mythology.
Okay.
But that for Fujin, it was very much that.
With Fujin, he actually became super influential to the point where they started including him in other games. Like, I think people were extremely interested in this new character, and I'm curious, did any of your martial arts influence your portrayal of him at all, or was it just kind of like you said, you weren't
I'm
putting as much thought into him?
I'm sure if you're a dancer, if you're a martial artist, if you're a fighter, if you're an athlete, if you're an accountant or a computer programmer, there are ways that people move, and consciously or subconsciously. So as a martial artist or whatever, there's a way that there's a way that a lifelong martial artist moves, and there's a way that they carry themselves. And so I'm sure there's some influence there, as opposed to you take a random guy off the street and he's not into fitness, he doesn't work out, maybe he hasn't had all that training where they're very much more self-assured. And so you're kind of your average guy. And you throw that average guy into the Fujin, into something that is very similar to the Thor costume, and you end up with something different. There's always some sort of magic when something clicks. And so I'm glad that Fujin is a much more popular character now. And I'm not trying to claim any credit for that. But again, there's always magic when something clicks, and there's not that magic when something doesn't click. And I keep busting on Stryker. I know I keep busting on Stryker. But like in MK3, I don't know if Stryker clicked as much as some of the other characters.
I'm totally with you.
So-
I hate on Stryker almost every episode.
Yeah, we do.
I mean, I'm curious because I can't find an actual answer or a consistent answer anywhere online. You're credited with reprising your role as Fujin for MK4 and Gold on some sites, and then not on others. Can you clarify if you continue to play him?
Oh, yeah. I started on Mortal Kombat 2. I worked on Mortal Kombat 4 in the motion capture suit.
Cool.
And so I don't know what, to tell you the truth, I don't remember which characters I was used for, but I had the first iteration of the motion capture suit on. There's some footage out there. I have the tracking balls on my joints or whatever, and kind of swinging a stick or on all of that good stuff. So I did work on Mortal Kombat 4, and I couldn't tell you for sure which characters they used my motions for, because you could just, you have this motion, you build a skeleton around that, and then you could graft whatever character you want onto that motion. So that could very easily be the case where they use some of my motion for Fujin in that one or not. But for sure, I worked on Mortal Kombat 4. For sure, I did motion capture. If they used that motion for Fujin or not, I couldn't tell you.
I mean, it's also interesting to think about because if you've done the motion capture for Mortal Kombat 4 and I'm assuming Mortal Kombat Gold, then I would have assumed in some fashion that some of your moves may have made it in for Kung Lao, who actually got put into Mortal Kombat Gold. But you were not the face of Kung Lao in MKG. I think that was Josh Sway, our previous guest, right, Phantom?
Right. So, yeah. And this is something, though, that, again, what I'm so grateful for. So, like I said, I started Mortal Kombat 2, did everything through Mortal Kombat 4. The technology changed. They're doing the motion capture stuff. And then it's almost like Menudo or some sort of those groups where you do your time and then you age out, and then they bring in a new cast for Menudo. So Ricky Martin is Ricky Martin for the Menudo, and
Well, yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, it's like passing on to the next. Yeah.
Yeah, but I count myself as so lucky because I'm so proud of this. My son, who also does martial arts, who I trained since he was a child, and who's trained in China, won national championship, and also did the motion capture for Kung Lao and other characters. And I think he started Mortal Kombat 9, Mortal Kombat versus DC, or all of these type of games, Mortal Kombat 10, Mortal Kombat 11. And so he does a lot of motion capture stuff, but especially when there's opportunity for him to do motion capture as Kung Lao, like they would make sure that he would be the one who does the motion capture for Kung Lao. So Kung Lao is more than just a character for us. It's become this legacy character for my family. And it is just, I can't be more appreciative than what I am, because I find that so cool. I'm so happy about that.
Didn't your son actually get to play Kung Lao in the unreleased one of the HD versions they were making of Mortal Kombat?
Yeah,
That's cool.
Yeah, so that's where it all started from. Back in, I think it was 2010 or something. Another company was working on Mortal Kombat HD. Here's a good one. So there's another company. They're working on Mortal Kombat HD. They want to redo the first 3 Mortal Kombat, and they want to. We need your help as a consultant. Oh, yeah. Can you do that? Of course. First thing that I can say is like, okay, for Kung Lao, what you need to do, you need to hire my son. This is my way of. But
Perfect casting.
I joke, but yeah, it's a perfect casting.
Yeah.
This was in LA, so we flew out to LA. He gets to put the costume on, and there are pictures online of this stuff. He's in costume. He's doing all of the movement, and the way that they would do this is they would have the original frames on screen, and then the character would be kind of transparent. So it'd almost be like an onion skin.
Hmm.
And so you would have Kung Lao throwing a kick or whatever. And then Taylor, my son, would be filming, and he would have to fit within this onion skin. His body has to do what the onion skin is doing.
That's
And
cool.
that became so trippy because, okay, as a father, you love your children no matter what. And if there's a father and son relationship, you love your son and you want him to whatever he does is going to be great. But somehow, if he gets something and he's able to mimic some of you, that's even more beautiful. But then when you're actually watching him in this costume, doing it in your really literally almost in your skin, doing what you do, that is there's no way to get that feeling across. Like, yes, this is the whole world to me. This is me, martial arts, my son, this character that I'm so associated with. Now my son is doing this character, doing the movement that I'm literally doing, the movement that I was doing. There's no other aspect in existence that could actually capture that. And this was done through Mortal Kombat. And this is
Wow.
why I'll always have something great to say about Mortal Kombat, because outside of everything else, outside of hanging out with you guys, outside of going to conventions or being part of this franchise, to also have my son involved in this, and he's my son and he's doing Kung Lao, and I don't even know how to describe that feeling, but it is, if you're a father, if you have a son, this is beyond anything that you could hope to imagine. So yeah, that was the story of Mortal Kombat HD. It goes on where these cats, there's so much that everybody learned on making Mortal Kombat and Mortal Kombat 2 and Mortal Kombat 3. And it seems like, and I can't talk really about this, but anytime somebody else gets control of a property or whatever, they want to do it their way. They don't want to they don't want to bring on the previous generation because it's their money. They have their own ideas. They're going to do it their way. But I don't think that their way ever came together to a point where they can actually release a Mortal Kombat HD video game. So
Yeah.
that thing never saw the light of day. But like 5 or 6 or 7 years moved on from that. Now they're doing Mortal Kombat 9 or 10 or whatever, Mortal Kombat versus DC, all that good, or Injustice, all of those good things. And my son is involved in that. And
That's cool.
so, yeah, this Mortal Kombat thing has just become a legacy thing for my family. And I'm so happy about that.
That's so amazing to even think about. Just the fact that, because I would have said it would have been amazing if your son got to play, for example, Kung Jin, who is the nephew of Kung Lao. But then he
Right.
didn't just play Kung Jin; he played Kung Lao. That's even more.
Yes. And Carlos was doing the choreography for the game, working on the art. And again, that's Carlos, that's Raiden
Yeah.
behind the scenes manipulating Mortal Kombat. That's all of this stuff is just magic. Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious, between Mortal Kombat 2 and Mortal Kombat 3, we saw a big tonal shift, not just in the game itself, but also with the cast because of ongoing lawsuits and stuff like that. How did that impact
Sure.
you during this time?
Okay, so again, there is the original, and I count myself as part of the original cast. We've gone through this because we've been buddies, we've been friends, we've been brothers or whatever, but I wasn't part of that game. It's like, yeah, you guys are working on a game or whatever. Why? Like, I
Mhm.
still don't understand. Are you Pac-Man or who are you? Anyway, so so by the time Mortal Kombat 2 rolled around, everything has been established. Okay, so you know that there's a high punch, a low punch, a high kick, a low kick, a medium kick, a fatality, all of these good things. the basics are already established. You know that, oh, it's a big video game, and you know that it's going to acclaim for Super Nintendo or Sega Genesis or whatever that happens to be. All of these things are in place. Some of the original cast members had lawsuits against Midway for various reasons. Something about unwarranted use of their likenesses or all of this good stuff, or whatever those lawsuits happen to be. And we're standing there, and so we're as a group. Midway makes us an offer of, okay, if you want to continue with us, this is the offer that we're giving you. And some of the other castmates thought, you know what, this isn't worth it for us, because whatever it happens to be, whether the unwarranted use of their likenesses or creative differences or whatever, and that's fine. That's what they need to do. But I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, okay, even if I go down this route, I have no leg to stand on. Everything had already been established by Mortal Kombat 1. What high punch, low punch, high kick, low kick, medium kick, fatality, the home system, all of that good stuff. There was no way that I can claim that, oh, I did something unique outside of bringing uniqueness to my character. I didn't create this. It's already been established. That Mortal Kombat has already been established. And unlawful use of my likenesses for other platforms. I was watching the kid, Mortal Kombat, Mortal Monday. So I knew all of this stuff going in. And we're all brothers. We're all in this. And our friendship existed before Mortal Kombat. No matter what happens, if Mortal Kombat ends tomorrow, if Mortal Kombat goes on another 20 years, our friendship will always be there. It doesn't matter if Mortal Kombat begins or ends now or ends in 20 years or outlives us. We'll always be this tight group of guys. But we do need to make our own decisions on which way we're going to go with this. And for me personally, I did not have a leg to stand on. Oh, I created something, or I didn't know about this. You knew by Mortal Kombat 2, you knew that this was a global phenomenon. And so what made the most sense for me? The most sense for me was to align myself with Midway. At that time, it would be Midway Games or whatever, William Valley Midway. Align myself with that. And you would think that would cause a rift in our friendship, in our brotherhood or whatever. But it didn't. It would maybe all right, fine, you're going to go that route. Fine. And then there maybe just well, F you then. Let's go get pizza.
Yeah.
It was that.
Right.
So, so Hosung went one way, and Danny and Phil and Kathleen and Liz went one way or whatever. But yeah, for me, it was very much, you look at the field, you look at, okay, what actually makes sense. And for me, this is the route that I'm going to choose. And yeah, then everyone's mad, and then everyone gets pizza, and then we're back training the next day.
Right.
And no matter what, like Danny's my brother. No matter what, he would, if you met Danny, he would give you the shirt off his back. If you just met him and, oh, I'm coming to Chicago for this convention, but I have no way to get to the airport. Johnny Cage is the first guy to say, what time do you come in? I'm going to go pick you up. This is who Danny is. Hosung is somebody who, this guy has an ego. I can't even separate my hands far enough to tell you how big that guy's ego is. And if you met, and it's a well-deserved ego, but he's somebody who, when we worked on Turtles, he was the one who went to bat for me. It's just like, hey, Mr. Johnson, who was the stunt coordinator, if you need somebody else to suit up in a turtle suit, Tony's the guy that you need. And I was able to suit up in a turtle suit because Hosung went to bat for me. These are who we are. We're outside of the whole Mortal Kombat thing. We're brothers till the end. And no matter what happens, that's always going to be the same. So that's where we all stood at that time of the lawsuit. They thought they had one way to go. I thought I had another way to go. We chose our paths, but at the end of the day, we're still together. So, and you can't, again, that's just part of that, everything together. We're not just actors that were hired for these parts and then went to the Four Winds after that. We're together before this. We're going to be together afterwards. And we're just lucky to be along for the ride as we go. So that's my version of what happened during those lawsuits.
So after that, how long did you end up staying with Midway in the Mortal Kombat franchise?
Until I aged out of Menudos.
Was there any particular reason for you leaving the company?
Okay, we loved all the work that you did. There's some lines on your face that we can no longer hide.
Gotcha.
And here's a gold hat. Thank you very much for your service.
Just because you all went in different directions with the whole lawsuit thing that you managed to keep, and not just managed, you thrived in keeping that relationship going. Although I'm also curious, what's the relationship been between you and Midway, which is now NRS, and of course Ed and John since you've left? Have you had any contact with them in recent years, or?
Okay. In recent years, I can't remember the last time I talked to Ed, but Ed has always been cool with me. There's no question about that. But again, I will never say one bad thing about Ed. He's always been cool. He's always been cool. But the guy that I was closest to on that team was Tobias, and then like Bogle and Davida, Sal Davida. In terms of the guys that I was closest to, maybe I guess there'd be more of the art guys as opposed to the programming guys. And so, but especially Tobias, closest with Tobias and Bogle and Davida or whatever. But yeah, the art guys. But I haven't talked to Ed in forever. Maybe it's been a few years since I've actually talked to Tobias on the phone. And then sometimes on social media, we'll exchange things or whatever. Tobias has always been cool with me. Even back in the day, sometimes I wouldn't be shooting or whatever, and I would just hang out. And I'd go there, and I'd love hanging out like in Tobias's office because he had all the art stuff. And like, he's a great artist. I remember there was like a series of drawings. It wasn't comic book drawings or whatever, but it wasn't like a published comic book, but it was either Thor versus Hulk or Thor versus Superman. And he had like a bunch of pages where they're just fighting or whatever. And I thought it was the coolest thing. It's like, hey, Tobias, can I have this stuff? Because there's just be photocopies, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take it. Or there's extra like Mortal Kombat paraphernalia in the office, like posters or whatever. Hey, Tobias, I'm gonna take this stuff. Cool? And it's like, yeah, just take it. So it was always like that. It was always cool like that. In terms of like Midway and now NetherRealms or whatever, the only thing that I would say is that, I'm grateful that my son is part of this world. If there's, real, bad blood or whatever. And again, I can't speak so factually on this, but I could imagine them not letting my son participate in this. And yet, like I said, he's been part of Mortal Kombat for the last few years. So in that respect, thank you very much. I'm glad that as a family, we're still able to participate in this Mortal Kombat journey. So yeah, I got no beef with anybody. I just kind of love everybody anyway.
Anthony, I'm curious, have you kept up to date at all with the series, like especially Kung Lao's betrayal in Mortal Kombat 2021 or any of the newer mediums like Legacy and things like that?
Oh yeah. So I'll interact with Max Wong
Yeah.
every now and again. It was his birthday. Wish him a happy birthday. And we interact together. And yeah, so man, I am so pissed off. Yeah, they did it. They always seem to do Kung Lao dirty.
Yeah.
So there's these lyrics that I wrote. You can knock me down, but I will not die. And I'm coming through the fire on the other side. This is me. This is Kung Lao. I don't care how dirty you want to do Kung Lao. Kung Lao is always coming back. And people, you could see online, oh, they're always doing him dirty. Yeah. But you know what? He's always back. You're always talking about him, and he doesn't give up. Somehow he's always there. And this is Kung Lao. He does not give up. And this is me. And this is why it's always so intertwined. But anyway, yeah. Max also, he's part of Jackie Chan's stunt team. He also does Chinese martial arts. Where we differ is my main background is Northern Chinese martial arts, and his background is Southern Chinese martial arts. And this is cool too. That very first scene that he popped on, the hat popped up and he's
Oh, yeah.
whirling around and he lands there. This is very much a southern fist movement. And so this is what he brings to the table. And just like anything else, every sports, martial arts, everything evolves over time. So no matter what I did, this is the next generation, and he's bringing stuff to the table, and he's here. Like he's great. I never say anything bad about him. He's a champ too, and so everything just kind of builds on each other. And he brings his own personality to the role. He brings his own martial arts skill set to the role, and so I'm really happy about that. Yeah, they did him dirty. I don't know if he's going to come back as a revenant or whatever in the next movie or whatever, but he'll be back because you can't keep Kung Lao down. So yeah, okay, I'm not going to lie to you. I enjoyed the beginning of MK 2021. I enjoyed some of the action. I enjoyed some of the interaction, especially between Kano and Liu Kang, Kano and Kung Lao. I enjoyed a lot of that stuff. Some of the stuff, I think they could have done another rewrite before it actually hit the screen. But in terms of those cats, whether it's Max, whether it's Kano or Scorpion and Sub-Zero in the beginning, I thought all of that stuff was awesome. So
I'm curious as well. Have you seen Legacy? Because Kung Lao was portrayed by Mark Dacascos.
yeah. Oh, see, this is another thing. This is another thing where I'm so okay. So Kung Lao is Kung Lao, right? And Kung Lao is supposed to be this Shaolin monk. You'd imagine he's like a Chinese Shaolin monk. But whether it's me, whether it's Paulo Montalban, who's also Filipino, whether it's Mark Dacascos, who is like a very mixed race. Forget what exactly his mix is,
Mark
but I know
Dacascos?
he's Chinese. Yeah.
I think he's Hawaiian, isn't he?
Yeah. Okay. So his dad is Al Dacascos, and I can't remember his mom is Bernal. I can't remember his mom's name, but it's like a mixed race Asian. Okay.
Yep.
There and amongst other things, he's a mixed race Asian. Whether it's Max Huang, who's I believe Chinese and German or something like that. So it would be very easy to just cast just a straight Chinese cat as Kung Lao or whatever. But because I was cast originally, it's always been like this mixed race Asian cat that's playing Kung Lao. And so again, whether that's by design, whether that's just coincidence, however you want to look at it. But I always thought that was cool as opposed to just casting just a straight Chinese cat as Kung Lao. I always thought that was cool. But yeah, Mark Dacascos is cool. His dad, Al, actually worked on Turtles 3 for a couple of days just as a stuntman. You know, Al Dacascos is a big deal. He knows Pat Johnson, who is a stunt coordinator on that. And it's the same thing, whether it's Al Dacascos, whether it's Ho Young Pak, who's Ho Sung's brother, who also worked on Ninja Turtles 2. When you're like that, the stunt coordinator is like, yeah, I'm here for a couple of days visiting. Yeah, let me get on set and work on this. And this is like a major Hollywood production. And it's like, oh, yeah, cool. Just go to costume, suit up, and you're on. It's crazy how these things work. But yes, I met his dad. I interact with Max. And then Max also, he had a song come out during the release of Mortal Kombat. Paulo is a big singer. I bet you that Mark also thinks, I would love to just do a song with all of us because
the Kung Laos. I actually just searched up Mark's origins. You were right. He is very mixed. He's got Chinese, Filipino, Spanish, Irish, and Japanese ancestry.
Yeah.
Like, wow. But he was also Hawaiian, I think. Yeah. So he's got all this together.
Yeah, that's right. But it's very much a mixed station. And it's crazy. Okay, so what else does he do? The Iron Chef America, I believe. Mark Dacascos, isn't he the nephew of the Iron Chef or some craziness like
no
this?
idea. I didn't realize.
Anyway,
the chairman, according to what I'm reading.
Yes. Anyway,
wow.
One of my students was watching Iron Chef America, and he's watching it with his wife or something like that. And then he tells me this story. He goes to his wife, wow, this guy reminds me so much of Coach Tony. And he tells me this stuff, and I bust out laughing because Mark Dacascos is also Kung Lao.
Right.
It's like, but just the mannerisms and everything. It's like, it's and he didn't know about the Kung Lao connection either. It's like just somehow these mannerisms from Iron Chef America and how he knows me at the gym. It's like the same mannerisms or whatever, similar mannerisms.
That's
And
cool.
then he didn't even realize, oh yeah, we're both Kung Lao too.
Oh, so
So yeah.
Anthony, you've touched on this a couple times throughout the show, and I really think our audience would love to hear the story of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 for you, as well as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, and kind of how.
Okay, so see, okay, and then this is one of those Kung Lao things where somehow Kung Lao gets done dirty, but you can't keep him down. Okay, so there's Ninja Turtles, right? And so that comes out, and Ernie Reyes Jr. is one of the stunt turtles, and Ernie Reyes Jr. is also he's a martial arts cap. Everybody knows everybody from the tournament, especially at this point. Whether it's Power Rangers, Ninja Turtles, Mortal Kombat, everybody knows everybody because we're all in the same tournament. Anyway, Ninja Turtles comes around and it's like, wow, that was a really cool movie. I love that movie. This is awesome. And then, we're all competing. Hosung is tearing it up or whatever. And he gets a call from Pat Johnson, and he's going to be Raphael in the next Turtle movie or whatever. And Rich and Carlos are, okay, yeah, I guess we're going to go do this movie too. And so, but my son was just born right at that time. And I walk my own path. I do everything, but I still understand, hey, my son was just born. I need to be here during this time. I cannot partake. I'm not going to go on the road and do Ninja Turtles 2. And I get it. It's no sacrifice to me because it's my son. But then the movie comes out and it's like, oh, everyone's so happy about the movie. And it's the same thing. They're signing autographs at movie theaters. And I'm like, oh, you guys. they're big stars and I'm being like all pouty and stuff. And this always happens, whether it's Mortal Kombat or Ninja Turtles. So you have a couple of different releases. So you have the movie release. And so now they're doing autograph sessions at theaters. And then 6 months down the line, at that point, the VHS copy comes out. And now they're doing signings at video stores. And so there's another bump in popularity. It's like, oh my God, are you kidding me? And I'm just there smoldering and like, yeah, good for you guys. Good for you. But then Ninja Turtles 3 comes around. Okay, now again, you can't keep me down. And Hosung said, yeah, Ninja Turtles 3 is coming around. Send your tape to Pat Johnson and let's see if you can be a stuntman on Ninja Turtles 3. Competing already at the time, so they're already rising through the ranks, not at the Hosung's level. Anyway, so I send my tape to Pat Johnson and I get hired for Mortal Kombat 3, Ninja Turtles 3. And yay, I get to do this. So now I'm back in the game. But then this is that brotherhood thing. So Ninja Turtle 3 is going on. In terms of like wearing the suits, especially, it's just really thick latex. It's about 40 pounds of latex. And then you have a 30-pound shell on you. And then you have the helmet. And so if you can imagine, here is the mask of the turtle. And you don't see out of the mask and you don't see out of the eye. There are 2 little slits underneath the mask right here. And that's where you see out of. And it's like having a deep sea diving suit on, like a helmet. So you can't breathe. So you can't breathe, you can't see, and you can't move. And it's 40 pounds of latex, another 30 pounds on the shell, and then a helmet where you can't see or breathe. And then you're under the light. So you're already sweating profusely. And then you have the big lights on you. And so now it's probably like 110 degrees, especially if where you're shooting or whatever. And so it's very difficult for especially the stunt turtles to make it through the full filming. It's easier I don't want to say it's easier for the acting turtles, But the acting turtles, they're not moving, they're not jumping, they're not kicking, flying, and all of this good stuff. So the physical aspect is easier. But the fighting turtles, the stunt turtles, it's very difficult to get through the shoot. I think that's why Ernie Reyes Jr. was pulled in for part 1. Ho Young Pak, Ho Sung's brother, was pulled in on part 2 because one of the turtles went down. And so Ho Young filled in for that turtle. And the same thing happened in Ninja Turtles 3.
So interchangeable.
Yes. And so, the turtles are going down, and Ho Sung mentions to Pat Johnson, hey, if a turtle goes down, take a look at Tony. Tony's very capable of doing this stuff. He's a national competitor, yappity, yappity, yap. He can do this stuff. Just take a look at him. Lo and behold, one of the turtles goes down. We're running behind schedule. Tones, dude, can you put this turtle suit on? And can you do these actions? And okay, one of those things that you got to remember. So the turtle suits are custom made from molds from the stunt guys or whatever. And even the helmet is made from a mold from the original actors or whatever. And so the helmet doesn't actually fit correctly. I can't actually see because everything is like being pushed up because the other stunt turtle cheekbones were like higher or something than it just didn't fit right. But Pat Johnson goes, hey, can you do this? Of course I can do this. I can't breathe. This thing doesn't even fit me. Some goes to bat for me. And so, yes, I get to put on the Leo turtle suit. I get to fill in for actions for the turtles. I'm chasing the bad guy around. I'm falling off of horses. I'm fighting. I'm doing all of this stuff outside of also doing the other stunt work on there. And so yes, I missed an opportunity, put down or whatever. But somehow the universe says, keep going. You can do this. And with the help of friends and brothers and the whole 9 yards, from going from, wow, Ninja Turtles was a cool movie to, wow, I get to be in a turtle suit. I get to play Leonardo. How cool is this? It's always that same thing. And so whether Ninja Turtles, oh man, I missed my opportunity. Oh, here's another opportunity. Just be ready. Oh man, here's Mortal Kombat. I missed my opportunity. Here's another opportunity. Just be ready. And so, yeah, it's all of these things with the help of Danny, with the help of Sung. All of these things are able to manifest themselves because there's no, oh, woe is me. I missed my opportunity. Forget you guys. It's like, oh, one opportunity missed, but be ready. You never know what might happen. And then you have the support of your brothers who's always looking out for you anyway. And this is those things that the universe that says, here, take your shot. And maybe we're going to do you dirty. Maybe we're going to do you dirty now, but there's going to be another opportunity. And maybe we're going to do you dirty again, but there's always going to be another opportunity. Just be ready. Just be Kung Lao. And this is
Keep
Kung
getting
Lao.
back
So
up.
that's why because I'm just as good as Liu Kang. It is.
That's it. That's the reason. Anthony, early on with the Ninja Turtles, there were talks of a 4th movie. Did that conversation come up with you at all? Or was it too early in those talks to reach you?
That's way too early. Okay, I'm going to be totally straight with you. I love the first Ninja Turtle movie. I thought that thing was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And then you hear that, oh, your buddies are going to be in Ninja Turtles 2, and Vanilla Ice is also going to be in Ninja Turtles 2. This is going to be the greatest movie ever. And then I saw it, and then
It was
I
different.
really liked Ninja Turtles 1.
Yeah.
And then Ninja Turtles 3 comes in. Oh, and you get an opportunity to participate in this movie. Oh, you get an opportunity to suit up as a turtle. This is going to be the greatest movie ever. And then Ninja Turtles 3 comes out.
Yeah.
And I still really enjoyed Ninja Turtles 1. This is so... Yeah, so, Ninja Turtles 3 didn't do nearly as well as maybe everyone was expecting. And then a couple of years went by, and then there's no Ninja Turtles 4, and then it became like this TV series with the 5th turtle or whatever. And so everything had to change by that point. I think it was a different production company or whatever, but everything had changed by that point. And so none of us were involved in that next iteration. So... yeah, but I really love the first Ninja Turtle movie.
I think I gathered that. I'm curious because you're not just involved in Mortal Kombat and the Ninja Turtles, for which you really love the first movie of. You also have other projects as well. You're also in a band as a singer.
Yeah.
Tell us. I
Okay,
want to hear more.
So it is. Okay, so I'm a big Michael Jackson fan. I'm a big Bon Jovi fan. I just love all of that type of stuff. And okay, so let's say the tournaments happen, every few years or whatever, every 3 years or every 500 years, whatever the story happens to be. There's the tournament to protect the Earth realm, and then there's the rest of the time. And what is Kung Lao doing the rest of? Sure, he's training. Sure, he got the Wuxi Academy, and I do that. I train the next generation of fighters to protect the Earth realm. But there's more to life than that. There has to be more than life. And so I like Michael Jackson. I like Bon Jovi. I'm going to start a band, you see. And this is exactly what it was. And so I want to start this band. And it was one of those combat cons that Galloping Ghost would host before. And I think it was like the 25th anniversary of Mortal Kombat. And Galloping Ghost is an arcade here in the Chicagoland area that's big into Mortal Kombat. Doc, the owner, is a big Mortal Kombat supporter. And anyway, he put this convention together, and he knew I was forming a band. He's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna play. Yeah, we're gonna do this Mortal Kombat convention, and I'm gonna play there. And then we're just sitting there, and it's me, Doc, and Danny, and I think it was Doc asked, "Oh, so what's the name of the band?" And I go, "Yeah, it's Kung Lao." And Danny goes, "Yeah, it's Kung Lao and the Scorpion. That's the name of the band." and so that's how that name came about. But again, there's something about music and martial arts that there's a rhythm, there's a movement, there's a flow that happens, like when you're doing incredible martial arts or combat sports, or when you're in the flow of performing or singing or whatever. And so this is how all of this stuff came together. And one other piece, a few years ago, there's a Coke commercial, and it's Taylor Swift sitting at the edge of her bed, and she's writing a song. And this is in the commercial. And I just remember sitting there and thinking, wow, that's so cool. I wish that I could write songs like that. And it just became, I wish I could write songs like that. Why can't you write songs like that? Why don't you figure out how to do this stuff and let's go? Yeah. And so it's one of those things, again, where you just think, okay, I wish. What's stopping you? Nothing. Then do it. Let's go. And so that's how the band came about. And one of the biggest gigs that we played, there's this big street fest here in Chicago. It's called the Andersonville Midsummer Fest. It's one of the biggest festivals here in Chicago. Chicago is one of the biggest cities in the United States, thus making it one of the biggest festivals in the United States. And it was just one of those things where I go to the Chamber of Commerce, and I have a business within the community. And so I do have a little bit of leverage there. And then I tell them, yes, and I would like my band to play here. And then they ask, like, okay, well, how much exposure is your band, or does your band have, or whatever? And then it becomes, oh, have you ever heard of Mortal Kombat? You kind of lean on that. Not lying or anything. Yeah, there's Mortal Kombat, there's Kung Lao. And so somehow this band is now associated with that. And so, oh yeah, we would love to have you play this. And then some of the gaming conventions, like the Midwest Gaming Convention, is the big one that we played. And that one's one of the big conventions here in this part of the country or whatever. And it's just so much fun to meet everybody who's so involved in Mortal Kombat or in video games in general, and then to be at the after party or a VIP party, and whether it's with the band or just singing karaoke, just bringing joy, because we all enjoy video games in general and Mortal Kombat in particular. And if we can have some fun and the alcohol is flowing, and everyone's just ready to have a good time. Why can't we do that? So this is how that band came about. And yeah, whether you've been at a VIP party, like any of those type of things, or if you've seen the band play, it is very much just, yeah, raise your drink. We're having fun. Let's do this. And so that's how the band came about.
That's
And,
awesome.
the thing, Taylor Swift can do this. Why can't you? There's no reason why you can't do this. So figure out how, there's no reason. Oh, now all your buddies are like world famous because they did this video game. You just make sure you're ready for the next opportunity. Your buddies are, in this Hollywood movie. Just be ready for the next opportunity. And so that's what it is.
That is awesome. I mean, like as you're saying, it's, sure you're attending these conventions and everything, and it's all the Mortal Kombat peeps, the original crew and everything. But then you're really spicing things up with with the addition of the band, and I love it.
Yes. And then whether we're singing original Kung Lao music, whether we're doing Living on a Prayer, Wanted Dead or Alive, it's just so much fun. These conventions are about celebration and meeting everybody, hanging out with the community, whether you're a developer, whether you're an actor, whether you're a gamer, whatever it happens to be, we're all in this community together. And it's just so much fun to be part of the community. And if we could put another layer of that with music and drinking, and we're just there celebrating this whole culture. And so, yeah, count me in.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. And you're right. It's a community. We should all be enjoying it together.
Yeah.
I do also want to ask though, because aside from, well, now we've said Mortal Kombat, Ninja Turtles, martial arts in general, your band, you also have a book out. And that I actually,
Yes.
I'm annoyed at myself for only discovering this very recently because, I mean, it's somewhat recent, but also not at this point at the same time. It's from December 2020, right? Kung Fu Rockstar?
Yes. And it details my introduction to martial arts, how I met the rest of the NK crew, the whole Mortal Kombat thing, training in China with Hosung, developing the band, developing the next part of my martial arts journey with mixed martial arts, the struggles of being a single father and all of this good stuff. But at the heart of it, it is really just about having belief in yourself, having your dreams, and not letting that dream die on the vine. If you have a dream, if it's something that you love and you live for, it's true to you, and there's always a way to make these things happen. It's so easy to find a way out. I don't have this. I don't have that. Maybe things didn't work out the way they should have. It's so easy to find that way out because everything goes to the path of least resistance. But if it's something that you want to do, you start with that deep-seated belief in yourself that you can eventually get here. Maybe the path isn't so straightforward. Maybe you're going to change and swerve and pivot. But if you keep moving towards your North Star, when you look back after even just a few years, you'll see how far you've come. And they'll give you the strength and energy to keep moving forward to do what you want in life, whether it's establishing this podcast, whether it's establishing a band, whether it's being in business for yourself, or whatever that dream happens to be. Believe in yourself. Believe that no matter what, somehow I will make it there. That's when you can start taking those steps in order to, those baby steps. Yeah, maybe you're not going to get from point A to point Z, right away. But if you take that step A to step B to step C, the small incremental step, yes, I will wake up today and I will, whether it's trying to get in shape, I will do 10 push-ups today. No matter how long, how hard it takes, I will get these 10 push-ups done today. And then tomorrow, I will do 10 more sit-ups tomorrow. And it's just these small incremental steps. And you look back, and it's such a short amount of time where you can just look back and see, look how far I've come. Why can't I go further? And this is what that book is about. And this is something that, outside of punching and kicking and grappling and being able to use the spear or the staff at my gym, this is the message that I really want to get, especially to everybody, especially to the kids, but to everybody. There's so many adults that walk in that they don't even know what they're looking for. Maybe they're looking for a way to get fit. Maybe they're looking for something social to do. Maybe they're looking to be the next UFC champion or whatever. It doesn't matter where they're coming from. Everybody can benefit from first developing a belief in yourself that, yes, I can do more. I can be better. I can push myself just a little bit more each day to try to reach my goal. And then to just be able to look back 6 months later, 1 year later, 2 years later, look how far I've come. Yes, maybe I'm never going to reach that North Star, but because I've moved toward that North Star, I've gone so much farther than not thinking about moving toward that North Star at all. Just sitting on the couch, eating potato chips and thinking, why can't things be different? Make them different, make them better, and follow your North Star. And no matter where that path, you'll be better because of it. That's what the book is about.
So for anybody who wants to read that book, you can find it on Amazon. That's where I saw it. Anthony, for the...
So, I apologize for going on such a rant.
Oh, I love it.
No.
These are things that I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
Honestly, this is why we do this. Like, we bring on guests so that we can talk about these exact things. So nothing to apologize for.
Well, thank you.
So, Anthony, where else can our listeners find you?
Okay, so EKF Martial Arts is my gym. This is my gym in Chicago. I'm always there. I train there. I still personally train. I train that next generation of fighters to protect the Earth realm. And when we're not doing that, we're rehearsing with the band. So you could always find me there. I do about maybe 4 to 6 conventions a year just because they're so much fun. And then you could find me on social media at Anthony Marquez _Kung_Lao on Instagram, Anthony Marquez on Facebook. EKF Chicago is my gym on Instagram. And if you really want to find me, just shine the whoosh symbol in the sky at night. I will see it and I'll be there.
You'll just see a hat flying across the symbol. Anthony, before we let you go, I have to ask you, what is your favorite Mortal Kombat finisher?
It might be okay. So I know a lot of people like that hat cut, the original one where you split in half. Yeah. I do like the one where the hat is in the ground in the later version and Kung Lao pulling you across. That one, I like that one. I guess though the spin though, I guess because at that time it's me being finally becoming part of the franchise. Having my own finishing move, patterned after Michael Jackson. I guess that one is my favorite. And then the bow. Yeah.
I'm just curious. Does John Tobias know about the inspiration? Because I'm assuming he told you to do. I think you mentioned he asked you to do the spin. But does he know about all this inspiration you had from Michael Jackson?
I very much doubt it. Okay, we need this finishing move, so we need you to spin around. And then there's this whole thing around that. Oh, you mean I'm going to be Bruce Lee being Michael Jackson? Done.
Just imagining a Shimon at the end of each fatality now when he spins.
I don't know if you guys ever seen it, but there is this like Kung Lao video, and it's done to Smooth Criminal, and it's like from Mortal Kombat 3, and Kung Lao walked into the dance club or whatever, and he's dancing with everybody. Oh, and it's done to Smooth Criminal. I don't know if the person who made that knew that I was such a big Michael Jackson fan, but that was that first iteration of, yes, the whole world is coming together.
I have to find this. Because I know exactly who you're talking about. They have an entire series of all of these. Yeah. And Phantom, we talked about this, I think, with Cabal on Mortal Kombat 11 when he was just like announced. Do you remember it was the whole thing of Cabal going like, "Hi guys," with the spraying
the ventilator.
Who was it? I know exactly who you're talking about. That's going in the description for sure.
Yes.
We'll include that in the show notes as well as everything else Anthony has going on, so you can keep track. Just stop by his gym, visit him, get some lessons, pick up a book. Anthony, you got so much going on. Go see one of his shows. So, Anthony, we would just like to thank you so much for teaching us exactly what Clint Eastwood, Michael Jackson, John Bon Jovi and Taylor Swift all have in common, which is Kung Lao. So
Yeah.
thanks for joining us today on the Realm Kast, Anthony.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
It's been such a pleasure talking, but also thank you to
Oh,
all
same here.
for stopping by. It's always a ton of fun. I hope you guys all enjoyed it as much as we did.
You can find Yanni and myself, Phantom, on the Mortal Kombat group on Facebook, as well as Yanni on the Mortal Kombat meme realm, which is now also on Instagram.
You can also join our official Discord channel hosted on Mortal Kombat Online server through the link in the description, where we discuss Mortal Kombat along with our listeners.
And special thanks to Uppercut Editions for their continued support. The Realm Kast is the official podcast of Mortal Kombat Online.
And you can catch up on all episodes of the Realm Kast on YouTube, Facebook, iTunes, Spotify, and, of course, MortalKombatOnline.com.
Would you like more?